Part 5. There's so much laundry. In the history of Western literature, in hundreds of poems and novels, no romantic hero or heroine has ever ironed their own underpants. This may seem like a trivial point, but it is a crucial and urgent fact, because it signals that we have taken our cues about what belongs to love from a societal narrative that is radically incomplete and misleading in nature. Romantic culture takes no interest in the myriad of challenges that fall within the realm of the domestic, a term that captures all the practicalities of living together, extending across a range of small but crucial issues, including who one should visit on the weekend, when to empty the bins, who should clean the oven, and how often to have friends over for dinner. From the romantic point of view, these things cannot be serious or worth the attention of intelligent people. Relationships are made or broken over grand dramatic matters, fidelity and betrayal, the courage to face society on one's own terms, or the tragedy of being ground down by the demands of convention. The day-to-day minutiae of the domestic sphere seems unimpressive and insignificant by comparison. Partly as a result of this neglect, we don't go into relationships ready to perceive domestic issues as important potential flashpoints to look out for and devote sustained attention to. We don't acknowledge how much it may end up mattering whether we can maturely resolve issues around how to clean the kitchen floor, or the conundrum of whether it is stylish, or a touch pretentious, to give a cocktail party. When a problem has high prestige, we are ready to expend energy and time trying to resolve it. This has often happened around large scientific questions. It was understood that mapping the human genome would be enormously difficult as well as hugely beneficial. It is taken for granted that developing a commercially viable driverless car is a monstrously difficult puzzle, but one worth devoting great resources to. This respect leads to an unexpected but crucial consequence. We don't panic around the challenges because we understand the difficulty of what is being attempted. We are much calmer around prestigious problems. It is problems that we feel trivial or silly, and yet that nevertheless take up large sections of our lives, that drives us to heightened states of agitation. Such agitation is precisely what the romantic neglect of domestic life has unwittingly encouraged. Its legacy is over hasty conversations about temperature of the bedroom and curt remarks about the right channel to watch on TV, matters that can, over many years, contribute to a critical erosion of our power to love. When there are tensions we refuse to budget for, we readily fall into the roles of the nagger and the shirker. The nagger is trying to influence the other's behavior, but they have given up trying to explain their desire rationally. They simply deploy a tactic of prodding, cajoling, and insisting instead. The nagger has abandoned explanation and justification. It's what we do when we don't think a topic is worth much attention. The shirker, for their part, simply avoids doing what's being suggested, but they don't give the nagger a serious and compelling explanation for their disagreement. They just go upstairs and close the door. From each side it feels obvious that the struggle isn't worth having, which still doesn't prevent it from occurring. But if we admit that sharing a space and a life is very difficult, and yet very important and worthwhile, we come into conflict with a very different attitude. We might still argue about who puts out the bins, who gets more duvet, and what to watch on TV, but the nature of the struggle will change. We won't necessarily get so impatient and so rude. We won't necessarily nag, and so we won't shirk. We will have the courage of our dissatisfactions, and patiently sit with our partners elucidating the issues between us. We might argue that part of the reason our relationships end up being fractious is that prestige has been distributed to the wrong places. Those obliged to do practical tasks are highly likely to resent them and feel that something has gone wrong with their lives for having to involve themselves so closely with them. And yet these tasks are truly romantic in the sense of conducive to and sustaining of love. They should be interpreted as the bedrock of a successful relationship, and accorded all the prestige currently given to other activities in society, like mountain climbing or motorsport. As people, we are not against trivia per se, just against having to do small things that lack a sense of dignity. At certain points in history, artists have attempted to correct the distribution of prestige. In the 17th century, the Dutch painter Geertje den Hooch specialized in portraying high-status, interesting-looking people engaged in domestic chores. He wanted to show the relevance of such activities to having a good life and to convey that these were not in any way degrading or unworthy tasks. Organizing a linen cupboard was, Dooch proposed, no less worthwhile a task than checking the accounts of a major corporation, or making sure that a load-bearing wall was sufficiently strong to support the weight of an attic story. Domestic preoccupation is not a sign of the death of love. It is what we start to get involved with when love has succeeded brilliantly. We will be reconciled to the reality of love when we can accept without rancor the genuine dignity of the ironing board.